Hey everybody, Omar here once again with part 2 of the Discontinued Kershaw collection. Welcome back. Glad you could join me in this trip through history of Kershaw knives between 1998 and 2010. So let's get back into it. Continuing on, here we have the Kershaw Composite Blade Junkyard Dog. Now, at the time this knife was sold, I believe they only sold it for like $70. Now it's worth about $249, $250 on the internet now. Kershaw Junkyard Dog Composite Blade. Really nice ergos on this one. We've got 14C28N on the top, and on the bottom we've got B2 steel. They released this knife in 2 versions. You have the puzzle version here in my hand, which is the original version of the knife. And then I believe they released a second version where it looked like shark's teeth on it, kind of like waved out like that. Yeah, but this one was the puzzle piece, so this was the original version of the knife. And you can see the knife was released in March of 2000, if I hold my camera up there, 2006, and there it is, CPM D2. And on the top, it's 14C28N steel. This is a manual knife. Kershaw Junkyard Dog. It's an in-house, no, I'm sorry, this is a Galian design knife. Yeah, Galian designed this piece with Kershaw, and yeah, it was a very popular knife in its day. Here we have the Kershaw, I'm going to say it's the Kershaw Bump, if I remember correctly. What makes this knife so interesting is we don't have a liner lock. We don't have like a back lock of any kind. We have what's called a stud lock, which is what this is here. It doubled as the as like a thumb stud, right? But it was also designed as a way to keep the knife locked in place. So the way this worked was, if you look a little closer, there's a spring on the thumb stud there. See that? See the spring on it? This is a design that is long gone, and I'll tell you why. It had a lot of blade play after a while. The knife would produce blade play after a lot of use, so they considered it not very stable. So they got rid of the stud lock design. But the way it worked was inside the knife was a ball, and attached to the ball was a spring, and you would simply just push the spring down to close the knife. But if you look at it, you open it up, now it's locked in place. The spring would go in this direction, locking the blade in place. And it did work quite well, but after repeated use, the spring would get loose, the knife would have blade play, and Kershaw decided to do away with the stud lock design. Moving on, we have the Kershaw Knockout, which you can still buy, but this one is an LMAX. Spring-assisted blade, drop point blade, really nice looking, in black wash, aluminum brown handles, and this is a sub-frame lock knife, meaning it's not a full frame lock where they cut a whole piece of the handle out to create a liner, to create a frame lock. In this version, they just cut out a section of it, which is where it got its name, the Knockout. So this is the knife that actually introduced the sub-frame lock to all the other knife companies, the Kershaw Knockout, as far as I understand it. But it was a real genius design to only have it just a portion of the handle cut out and not the whole handle like it is on a regular liner lock knife. And again, it's a spring-assisted blade with brown aluminum handles. This knife is very sought after by collectors. I'm very happy to have it in my collection. The Kershaw Knockout in LMAX. Moving on, we've got a weird knife. I can't even open this knife one-handed anymore. I used to be able to do it, but I can't. So let me show you how this knife works. If I can remember how it works. Yeah, here we go. So basically you have a little toggle. This is called the Kershaw ET toggle, made by G&G Hawk. The same guys that did the Ram in the first video also did this knife. It just operates on this toggle, which is where it got its name, the Kershaw external toggle knife. It actually comes with a CD, so you can explain how to, they can teach you how to open the knife. I thought that was kind of funny. And I think there's also a video in there that explains, oh, there you go, I can still do it somewhat. Opening it with one hand without cutting myself. Yeah, it takes a lot of practice to get that. But yeah, it operated on a toggle. There's a toggle there. And it was just open, close, open, close. The blade is 14C28N. It's a very tactical looking knife. This thing comes with a very fine point. Probably pick out splinters with that thing. Really, really, really tactical looking, I gotta tell you. The ergos on it are not great, I gotta say. But however, you do have a lot of fill for your hand. So it is comfortable. It just doesn't feel like a normal EDC. Don't know why they even have this here. Normally you would think they'd have that for a thumb ramp, but maybe if you have large hands, you know, you'd be able to use this piece in that fashion. But this piece here, which actually, I believe this sort of hangs onto your belt or something like that. I can't remember how they did that. But this was actually not really considered, you know, like a regular EDC. It was more of like a tool. But, you know, it was pretty well sought after for knife collectors during the day. It also came in white. You can find it on white every once in a while on eBay. Someone is selling it. It also came with a case. The Kershaw ET toggle. Really weird knife. It also has a lock on it, which prevents the knife from opening. So if you were to, because this thing will open up, there's nothing in there, so they had to put a lock on it. So you turn on the lock there on the side, right? You guys can see that. So now I can't open it anymore. It's locked in place. Turn it off, and now you're good to go again. The Kershaw ET toggle by G&G Hawk. Let's move on to the next knife. This looks very familiar to you. It should. It's the Kershaw Salvo, but now it's not even called the Salvo. It's called the Kershaw Barrage. This was a special version of the Salvo called the Kershaw Barrage. They only released 412 of these knives were ever made, and get this, they were sold at Walmart in 2009. People saw this, they ate them up, and then this knife quickly became a collector's piece. I'm happy to say I have 2 of these. Being a collector, man, you know, you gotta have 2. If you can get 2 of these, and I got 2 of them. So yeah, the Kershaw Barrage was a real collector's item at the time. The Kershaw Salvo was the knife that you saw in the first video, which was all silver. This one's all black and decked out, including DLC coating on the blade. What made this knife so popular was the fact that it was wicked sharp, man. This is 14C28N, and this thing is hair-popping sharp. I've actually cut my finger on this thing a couple of times on the Salvo. Yeah, it's real sharp. Really good ergos. Just a nice, fantastic EDC everyday carry. Probably the only downside of the knife are these thumb studs. They're so small, and it takes a while for you to catch. But, you know, once you practice with it, you have no problem. I mean, I don't have a problem opening it anymore. But when I first got it, you know, it was hard to open at that time. But now, you know, I can do it pretty much on command here, man. Kershaw Barrage, a.k.a. Kershaw Salvo. Moving on, we have another Kershaw Custom, guys. Now, this one was probably done on probably one of the first CNC machines ever made. I'm going to say that. If you take a look at this, this is textured titanium. This is called the Kershaw Bump in titanium green. I also have it in titanium blue, which you'll see a little later on. This one was just... yeah, it's just absolutely gorgeous. This really could easily be an American custom knife, easy. It's got these green and gold accents on it, and if I hold it up to the light, you can see these ridges in the knife. That was more than likely done with CNC machining. Probably the only turn off is that there's so many screws on this thing, and then it's got the hole for the lanyard here at the end. It's kind of a little, aesthetically, it's kind of off on the eyes. Maybe if they had done the screws in gold, that would have really been nice. But, it's a beautiful, beautiful knife. We've got a modified recurved blade, I'm going to say. Really very, very nice. Again, the thumb studs are real small, but then again, that's not your only way of opening it. You've also got the flipper here. It's also a spring-assisted knife. The back spacer is in G10. A really pretty knife. Look how thick the titanium is on this piece. Really very thick. This is just a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. You can find one of these on eBay. Good luck to you, because they're probably selling it for about $700. It's crazy. The Kershaw Titanium Green Bump. Let's move on now to the Kershaw Storm. This knife here and the Kershaw Salvo, or Kershaw Barrage, both of these knives were very, very popular in its day. These were the high sellers at the time, were the Kershaw Salvo and the Kershaw Storm, along with the Kershaw Blur and Leak. During the early 2000s, they were like selling like hotcakes, those four models. They eventually discontinued these two, but as luck would have it, the Blur and the Leak have still moved on. They're still in as part of Kershaw's lineup. So, this is the Kershaw Storm. Again, we've got the Tech Trek that you're seeing, that you saw earlier on the Salvo, and of course it's also on the Barrage. Now it's also on the Storm. Really just amazing. It's called the Kershaw Storm. It's got these like circles on the in the aluminum scale here. Really nice touch on that, and then the circle theme continues on the pocket clip. And then up here, it's just a really, really nice EDC. Probably the most beautiful aesthetic thing on this is the blade shape. I love that blade shape. It's a recurve blade, goes up, sort of modified drop point. A lot of, I guess, if you're going to be doing some cutting, you're going to wind up moving your wrist quite a bit more than you wanted to just to use it. But still, aesthetically, it's really very pleasing and very pretty. This is the Storm in black. Moving on, we have the Kershaw Blur. Orange, burnt orange. Again, with a Tech Trek. The steel on this one is CPM 154, so this is another rare one. A lot of times I would have more than one Blur in my collection just because it came out in a different steel. This one came out in CPM 154 with the burnt orange aluminum handles. Again, we have a sub-frame liner lock this time, where they cut out a small section of the handle and then stick in a little liner lock in there. But unlike a real liner lock, it's not the whole liner that's moving out of the side. It's just a section of it, no more than an inch in this case. Kershaw Blur in 154 CPM burnt orange. The next two knives are kind of fun. If you guys are familiar with the Kershaw Launch series, and they just recently released the Launch 14, which is a freaking big cleaver knife. This is before the days of the Launch series. This is one of two automatic knives Kershaw released right around 2009. This one's called the Kershaw Breakout. This is very, very sought after by collectors, this knife here. It's got a hell of a spring to it. It's just as strong as the Launch series automatics. So you could call these sort of like the precursor to the Launch series, because they are really just beautiful, beautiful knives to have in any collection. The scales are aluminum, so they're really nice and light. It's got this sort of breakout pattern on the front and continues on the back. We've got the regular proprietary pocket clip Kershaw makes, and this knife also has a lock on it, which does two things to prevent it. Turns it into a fixed blade, believe it or not, the lock, right? If it's locked open, you can't close. You can press the button, but it's not going to close. So it kind of turns it into like a fixed blade for a moment. And then if you unlock it, now you press the button, you can close it. But it also is a safety lock to keep the knife closed, because now I can't press the button and the knife will not pop open as long as this lock here is engaged. Once you disengage the lock, and that's what I like about the design. They put the lock on the back, so all you got to do is just turn it off that way, and then boom, you're good to go. Really great idea. Moving on, let me open that up again. Moving on, we've got the Big Brother knife here, automatic. This is the Kershaw Rogue, another one that is sought after by collectors. It's got a lock on it as well, but unlike the Kershaw Breakout where they put it on the back, here it's on the front. So you can't press the knife. You can't press the button to close it, so it's kind of like a fixed blade for a moment. And then you open it. Now you press the button, you can close it. But once you engage the lock, you can't press the button to open the knife. It's shut. The only way to open it is you're going to have to turn off the lock and then hit the button. You're good to go. The spring on this knife is just as strong as it is on the Breakout. However, because the knife is big, and this knife is about right around yeah, this is a 3.6-inch blade. Yeah, it's a huge knife. So the spring on it is, while it's as strong as the Breakout, it doesn't feel as strong just because it's a big freaking blade. So it whips out just a hair slower than the Breakout. Again, grippy texture. Really very nice, very rustic looking, a very well sought after automatic knife. We got the drop point blade on there. Really very nice. This one was designed by R.J. Martin. This was an in-house design. This was an in-house design. This one was designed by R.J. Martin. I forgot to mention also that the Kershaw Storm was designed by Ken Onion. Obviously, you know, the Blur was also designed by Ken Onion. Let's move on to the next two. This is the Kershaw... the Kershaw Mini Boa. So it's a small version of the Boa. Really very tiny. I can't even freaking open this one. It just flies out of my hand. It's a spring assist, and if you look inside here, you can see the spring right there. Right in there. See that? That's the spring on the knife. It opens with the flipper and then thumb studs. The steel on this one is... they released it twice. Once in CPM 154, which is this one, and then they also released it in 14C28N as the second version of this knife. It got the red ruby aluminum scales on it, really kind of nice. I don't think you would actually put this on your pants, but it does have a pocket clip. It's just so freaking tiny, you know. You know, more like an office knife, I'm going to say. You just kind of keep it in your pocket. You need to open an envelope. That's what the knife is for. The second knife is the second version of the Sensa Fontaine knife created by Ken Onion and Frank Centofonte, God rest in peace. May he rest in peace, because he passed away quite a few years ago. As you notice, they just did a cutout here, whereas on the one that I showed you in the first video, they had mother of pearl. This one does not come with a leather pouch. Same Warncliffe style blade. The steel this time is 14C28N instead of, I think I said it was 1095 or something on the original. Yeah. So the Frank Sensa Fontaine knife. Here's one that is really, really very special. This is the Kershaw Cyclone. I'm surprised I haven't forgotten the names of any of these yet. This is the Kershaw Cyclone. What makes this knife interesting, it's a dual knife, dual opening. This is a spring assist and a manual knife at the same time, and I'm going to show you. If you look on the back, there is a little dial right here on the knife. Right now, it's a manual knife. See, you can manually just open and then it's closed. It's manual. But if I push that sucker up, let's see if I can do that with it open, it's better. If I push it up, now you've got yourself a spring-assisted knife. See that? So you go from spring assist, turn down the dial, and now you've got a manual knife. This knife was only in production for a couple of years just because of that mechanism would fail. After a while, it wasn't working. The dial was too freaking small. The spring would break inside the knife up for the dial, and all of a sudden you wouldn't have a spring assist anymore. You wouldn't have access to the spring assist action anymore. So they did away with it, and they released it in this color and in black, and a small 3.25 inch version, which is this one, and then the 3.5 version, which I'm going to show you in the next video. Kershaw Cyclone in, I guess, a white aluminum scale or silver aluminum scale. I don't know how you want to look at it. I say it's white. Here we have the final knife in part 2, which is again the Kershaw Leak. They released this knife so many times. This is the coarse G10 version. The steel on this one is S30V. Is it S30V? Yes, you can see right there, S30V steel on the knife. So this was another sought after, very rare collector's one. Designed by Ken Onion again. So there you have it. This is part 2 of the insane discontinued Kershaw collection. I will see you again in a few minutes as I bring out the 3rd version of my knife collection, Kershaw Discontinued Knife Collection. Keep in mind, the 4th one is going to blow all of you guys away, because that's where I have the creme de la creme discontinueds, which are super hard to get. So let's go ahead and get into part 3. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. I'm having fun going through all these, so hope you guys are enjoying it. I'll see you guys in a few minutes, and see you in a bit.